Greetings. Thank you for watching this video, and today we are going to talk about something that is really very interesting and very puzzling, at least in my humble opinion, and it's this connection between the Mandela Effect and conventional science, or more specifically the lack of connection between the Mandela Effect and science or scientific materialism. So basically, why aren't scientists jumping headfirst into this story? You would imagine that science would be willing and would be very curious about all of these things that we verify out there and are still without explanations, such as what you're seeing on the screen right now. And you would imagine that this would be very fertile ground for scientific research. And instead, what you see is this absolute dead silence. You see scientists just shunning this issue in every way that they can. So I'm going to propose here that this is due to three things: the philosophical roots of science, experimentalism, and a certain agenda that is out there, and it needs to be discussed. Truth be told, these things are changing. Science, or mainstream science, is changing, but there is still a lot of ground that it needs to be covered. Logical positivism is the philosophical source of scientific thinking. Basically, logical positivism says that the only propositions that are meaningful are those that are tautological, or those that can be verified by the senses. This is what logical positivism proposes. It was created by the Vienna Circle in the 19th century. What is a proposition? A proposition is a statement about the universe. So, for example, the proposition "the car is a car" is okay according to logical positivism because it's tautological, it's obvious, it's self-evident. The proposition "the car is blue" it's also okay because you can just go there and verify it with your senses, with your eyes, or with your instruments, and you can verify that the car is blue. Or the proposition "the car is beautiful" is not okay, it's not meaningful according to logical positivism, because there is nothing in the instrumentation or in logic that can give you any idea about what beautiful is. So, for example, mathematics would be tautological. It's just a series of propositions, logical propositions, that follow each other. Physics, biology, geology, and all of these things, cosmology, etc., they would be verifiable. So physics would also be okay according to the point of view of logical positivism. And as I was saying, mathematics would be also okay because it's just a sequence of logical steps. So all of these things would be meaningful according to logical positivism. But anything about aesthetics, anything about values, anything about spirituality would not be okay because there is nothing that we could use to measure these things or to verify these things in a lab. So, as I said, scientists have adopted logical positivism, even if they don't really acknowledge it. But that's what they adopt, and this is wrong because, as it turns out, if you just observe the proposition itself, the only propositions that are meaningful are those tautological, or those that can be verified by the senses. If you verify this proposition, you will see that this proposition is neither tautological, nor can it be verifiable, or can it be verified by any instrument. You can't really attach meaning to that proposition through any instrumentation, and that proposition is not self-evident. Therefore, what happens is that logical positivism is internally inconsistent. Logical positivism is it's something that is in conflict with itself, and therefore it's wrong. Therefore it must be ignored, must be just forgotten. Now, the follow-up from this implosion of logical positivism is that, of course, there must be meaningful things that we can say about non-physical things. There must be meaningful things that we can say about values, about beauty, about spirituality, and all of those things that science puts aside. These things are meaningful, and these things do add to mankind's understanding of the universe and of itself. So the excuse that is used by scientists that there are certain things that are not meaningful and I'm not going to waste my time on them, this excuse doesn't hold any water. So, for example, the Mandela Effect is something that is happening to millions of people around the world, and scientists, or at least mainstream materialistic scientists, are saying, look, I'm not going to dedicate my time to this because it's not meaningful. This is an excuse that doesn't hold water. Logical positivism is something that it's itself meaningless, and therefore the computing power and the ideas of the scientific community would be extremely welcome in analyzing this scientific or this universal phenomenon, the Mandela Effect, and we hope that this will be the case in the future. We will have the help and the brain power of the scientific community to help us understand what's happening. So far, the events such as the Mandela Effect or UFOs or spirituality, of all of those things, so far they have been the realm of fringe researchers, or the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, as we're disparagingly referred to. So these people like myself and these people like you watching this video, we are the ones that have to push the envelope. We are the ones that have to go out there and say, look, these things are happening, these things are real. We need to raise awareness about this, and we need the scientific brain power behind us to understand what on earth is happening. There would be only two approaches that mainstream materialistic science could adopt in regards to such phenomena as the Mandela Effect, or even things like UFOs, for example, or extrasensorial perception. There would be only two approaches that the materialistic scientific community could adopt towards these things. One approach is to go investigate them and prove that they are real, show that they are real, because these things are. If you just do a statistical analysis, just by the statistics alone, you would have enough gunpowder to go and start a formal investigation of these things. I am an economist, and I know that when you do have bits of evidence that are independent and pointing towards one same conclusion, you just have to go, and these bits are numerous enough. You just have to go and investigate, just by the sheer power of statistics. The other possible approach that the materialistic scientific community could use is to go investigate and realize that it's all about mass hallucination. So we are just hallucinating, and it's a hallucination en masse. And this would also be a very interesting result, because I, for one, would like to understand how mass hallucination takes place. What is the mechanism for mass hallucination? What's the source? How does the hallucination of one person, how is that transferred to another person, just so two people can be talking about the same thing, and neither makes sense, but they are comparing their notes and their memories, and yet there is this discrepancy between what they think and what they are seeing outside. So how is this mass hallucination affecting or infecting millions and millions of people around the world? That alone would be a very interesting bit of research to do. But what we see from science is neither. So we just see the materialistic science just ignoring the events. So it's not happening, and so it's mass hallucination. They say that it's mass hallucination, but they don't want to go out and explain how mass hallucination works. And this is a very unsatisfactory state of affairs. The other issue is the issue of experimentalism, because scientists, they usually say, look, the only things that exist are those things that can be measured by our instruments. I find that this is extremely incomplete and unsatisfactory, because look, our technology is changing every day. So something that can be measured today was not measurable yesterday, and something that completely escapes our capacity to measure today will eventually be measurable tomorrow. So you can't really define what exists according to our capacity to measure the universe. It just doesn't make sense. For example, in the 1860s, Maxwell derived his equations of electromagnetism, and Guillermo Marconi in the, I think it was 1880, he invented the radio. So people started playing around with radio waves back then, and they started sending messages using radio waves, and they started measuring radio waves. So does that mean that radio waves did not exist in the universe before these inventions took place? Well, this is absolutely nonsensical. And finally, the third possibility is that there could be a certain agenda. So why aren't scientists investigating this Mandela Effect? Why aren't, let's say, physicists that deal with the notion of time, either in a relativistic point of view or even in a thermodynamics point of view, in terms of entropy, or even in terms of quantum physics, why aren't these guys discussing these things? Why aren't psychologists discussing the possibility of mass hallucination, as I mentioned before? Could this be because of a given agenda? So, for example, I am of the view that scientific materialism is just another thought prison. So it's just another way to keep mankind subdued, to keep mankind enslaved, much in the same way that religion is a thought prison. So if you don't believe in things in the way that I do, then I have the right to expel you from my organization. You're not one of us. You have to surrender your capacity to think. You have to surrender your independence and think in the way that you're told to. So religion is something that behaves like that, and scientific materialism is also something that behaves like that. So if you're a scientist and you start asking these questions about the Mandela Effect, about UFOs, about spirituality as well, you may very well find yourself expelled or ostracized from the scientific community. You're not going to be invited to conferences. You're not going to be to receive research funds. You're going to be overlooked for tenure bids, and all of those things. So in a sense, the scientific materialism is just another dogmatic religion. It's just another mind control system. It's just another thought control system that prevents people from stepping outside the box and asking what the hell is going on. So, to be fair, there have been some very brave souls in the sphere of science that have been talking about these things and have been raising these issues. Dean Radin is a scientist that is investigating extrasensorial perception. For example, Robert Lanza, the biologist, has been proposing things about the extra dimensionality of the forms and shapes that we have in our universe. We also have the work of people like Rupert Sheldrake and his morphologic fields, suggesting that there is a certain mode that physical atoms and physical cells follow when they are developing a certain biological shape. So we have seen some people spearheading this new science, which I really hope that is going to be the new science of the new millennium. But so far these are few and far between, and these guys they have to cop a lot of flack before they begin to be accepted. And the problem is that they are accepted. They start being accepted by society. They are not accepted by the scientific community. It is society that starts paying attention to what these new scientists are saying, and it's society that is demanding more research in these areas. The scientific community, the established scientific community, is resistant to these new ideas, to these new avenues of scientific research, and this is really very, very sad. So this is it. So thank you for watching. I really would like to have your views. So if you have any additional views, any possible any new ideas of why all of these things are not being covered, are not being researched by the conventional scientists. These guys, they have the grants, they have the equipment, they have the brains, and yet they're not helping mankind in these issues that are so important and are affecting us on a daily basis. So if you have ideas why, please share in the comment area below. I'm really very interested in your ideas, in your views, in your feedback. So if you like this video, so please like, subscribe, and share. So see you next time. So God bless. Stay safe.